I want to welcome everyone. Today we're talking about travel hacking, and we just are glad you're here and give you a warm good afternoon. I'm Amy Achmoody. I'm an associate advisor here at Flagstone Financial Management, joined by Dan Stous, who is a lead wealth advisor. We'll take any questions that you have on travel points and rewards and how best to use them, but we'll also take any general financial questions you might have. To submit a question, you can click on the Q&A button on your Zoom controls and type in the question. You should see an option to send it to panelists only. Please choose that option. And finally, before we get started, I just want to say that Flagstone is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with a qualified financial advisor and/or tax professional before implementing any strategy discussed here. Past performance is not indicative of future performance. And with that, we can get started talking about travel.
Cool. Thanks, Amy. Thanks for that disclosure. Standard disclosure that we do on every webinar. We're really not going to be talking about investments at all today, even though we need to give that disclosure. But today, like Amy said, we're talking about travel hacking is a term that I sometimes use. You know, a lot of other people who are in this world not meaning financial planners, but people who find ways to earn a ton of travel points. They call themselves travel points enthusiasts, which is probably a nicer way and a less maybe, I don't know, shady way of calling it. Travel hacking sounds like you're doing something you shouldn't. But so travel points enthusiasts, I'm going to give you kind of 6 tips that a lot of enthusiasts use, myself included. So let's get started. Well, I guess before I get started, I will say these are 6 of the basic aspects of points enthusiasts, but there are lots more than just 6 basic points. So don't think that, oh, after 15 minutes of listening to this, you're going to be an expert and you don't have to do any research on your own. These are just kind of things to get you thinking and to potentially get you started. The first one is that this might not be for you, and because it requires a lot of organization and attention to details. So when I'm talking about travel points, the primary way of earning those is through credit cards. And you know, some people, like if you follow the Dave Ramsey line of thinking, or just the avoid debt at all costs line of thinking, this really isn't for you, because using a lot of credit cards to earn points is not in alignment with that line of thought, really. And like I said, it requires a lot of organization and attention to detail. So you need to make sure your payments are made on time. You need to make sure you know when your annual fees on various cards are due, in case you want to make some adjustments to avoid those fees. You need to keep an eye on when your points are expiring, because all the work that you do to earn them is totally useless if they end up expiring. So it takes a lot of organization and attention to detail. So keep that in mind. The second one is that earning a lot of travel points through credit cards might affect your credit score in the near term. For example, if you apply for a new card, that's a hit on your credit. It's an inquiry. And you know, if you're applying for a mortgage or planning to apply for a mortgage, whether you're going to buy a house or refinance in the next year or so, or you're going to buy a car on credit, you might not want to do this. So keep that in mind as well. The number 3 tip I have here is that you need to understand the difference between sign-up bonuses for points on cards and like ongoing benefits. Sign-up bonuses means like you apply for a card, you get approved, and they say, okay, we're going to give you 50,000 or 80,000 points or whatever if you do these things. And those things usually involve a purchase requirement. So like a common one is you have to buy at least $3,000 worth of stuff on this card in the next 3 months. And if you do, then we'll give you this pretty lucrative sign-up bonus. The ongoing benefits, the ongoing points thing is kind of what more people think of when they think of credit card points. It's, you know, spend $100 at the grocery store, you swipe the card, and if that card earns 1.5 times points at grocery stores, then you just earned 150 points. So the examples I gave are pretty common, and if you're paying attention to the numbers, you can tell that the sign-up bonuses are really where it's at. That's where you can really get a ton of travel points. By the way, I'm using points interchangeably with miles. They really mean the same thing in most situations. So the sign-up bonuses are really where you can make your quote-unquote money with travel hacking. And so there's a lot of strategies that you can read about online about how do I get a bunch of sign-up bonuses over time or in a short period of time so that I can accomplish my travel goals. I'll give you one brief example. So let's say there's a card out there called the Chase Sapphire Preferred. This is one that I was talking to a client recently about. Right now it has an 80,000 point sign-up bonus. So there are various requirements to get that, but you can go sign up for the card if you don't already have it, meet the spend requirement, get the bonus, and then let's say a year from now, that card is going to charge you 95 bucks as an annual fee. Well, before they charge that fee, one thing you could do is downgrade that card to a free Chase card, like the Freedom Unlimited or the Freedom Flex. And then, you know, 6 months, 12 months after that, maybe you go sign up for a new Chase Sapphire Preferred and get the sign up bonus again with whatever the bonus is at that time. There might be some restrictions on how often you can get sign up bonuses on the same card because card issuers know that people do stuff like this. So you can't like cancel and then, you know, 2 months later sign up for the card again and get another sign up bonus. So there are some restrictions on that that you need to be familiar with, but that's the idea. You know, some people constantly are downgrading and then signing up for new cards and then downgrading and then signing up for new cards, which that, you know, that's the reason you have to be super organized, is because you end up with a lot of cards potentially. So yeah, sign up bonuses are where it's at. That's number 3. Number 4, strategize which cards you use for making different purchases. So if you have 2 cards, let's say one earns you 3% on dining and travel and 1% on everything else, and then another card earns you 4% on gas stations and 1% on everything else. Well, then use that first card on dining and travel and use the other card on gas stations. And then maybe you have a third card that earns 1.5% on anything. And so you use that third card for everything else. Credit card companies change the types of things that earn you higher points. So, you know, 1 month, 1 quarter, you might earn 5% back at gas stations. And then the next quarter, you're earning 5% back at home improvement stores. So you need to be aware of those changes. Just keep an eye on emails. You know, if you have a card, they're probably emailing you about those things. So yeah, keep in mind what stores you need to use your different cards at to maximize the points you earn on those regular purchases. Number 5, sign up for cards with your travel goals in mind. So you might go out and just look for, hey, what cards have really lucrative sign-up bonuses right now? And I would say, you know, most of the time, if a card's giving, you know, 60,000 or more points for a sign-up bonus, that's pretty good. Depends on the loyalty program, but most of the time that's pretty good. Well, you might end up signing up for a Southwest Airlines card because they're doing a pretty good sign-up bonus, but you wanted to travel to, I don't know, Paris, and Southwest doesn't fly to Paris. I don't know if that's the case, but I know that they're less active in the international space. So that didn't really do you any good. If you were trying to go to Paris and you have 60,000 points on an airline that doesn't fly to Paris, then that didn't really help you. So, I would start with your travel goals and then look for cards that have good sign-up bonuses that can help you towards those goals. So that's number 5, is keep your travel goals in mind. And then number 6 is set up every time you get a new card, and you're probably doing that to earn the sign-up bonuses. As soon as you have an online login to that card, and as soon as you can see that card on that login, set it up for automatic payments. You need to do that just from an organization perspective to make sure that you don't miss any payments. That makes it incredibly easy to not miss payments. So once you do that, you don't really have to worry about it. But make sure that you do that. Kind of goes back to the first point of this isn't really for everyone. You have to be super organized, but that's one of the ways you can stay organized. And, I'll kind of give a bonus, number 7. Don't do this strategy if you're one to spend money on a credit card just because you have the ability to and you have the credit limit to. I remember the first time I signed up for a card with Chase, they gave me a $25,000 credit limit. Well, at the time, I was probably like half of my income. So that would be incredibly unwise to just rack up 25 grand in credit card debt just because I had the limit to do it. So you still need to make sure that you're just spending what you normally spend instead of, oh, now I have, 6 credit cards. Now I can spend a ton of money. So, yeah, a little disclaimer there as the bonus number 7. I'll give you just a brief, since we got a couple minutes, I'll give you a brief example of like how something like this could work. My wife and I in 2017, when we paid off our student loans, one of the ways we rewarded ourselves was to go on a 3-week trip to Europe. And for the year and a half leading up to that, we started researching this whole area of points enthusiasts. So we had enough points to pay for about $10,000 worth of that trip. And there's just simply no way we could have done that with our normal income. So my hope is that you can use these strategies to either do things that you couldn't normally do with just your cash flow, or even if you could afford to do it with your cash flow, then put the money that you're saving with your points, put that somewhere else. And the other option there is up your travel game. Like, even if you can afford to do the things that you're doing already, do extra stuff because you got a ton of points to pay for it. So those are my 6 tips plus a bonus. So I'd be happy to answer any questions as they come in. Do we have any, Amy?
Yeah, we do have a few questions, and I just want to say I love hearing about this as our family is thinking about traveling a little more as things open up more. We can definitely use all the help we can get as far as thinking about flying and airlines. So great tips and thanks. I have a couple questions about travel points, and one is, do you have one resource you would recommend specifically for your travel ideas?
Yeah, I wouldn't say just rely on one, but because well, for one, a lot of bloggers in this space and people who do it like for their living, which a lot of times the bloggers do it for their living. Their sites can be sponsored, and a lot of them are heavily sponsored by different financial institutions, which kind of goes against like what we stand for here at Flagstone. So you really have to take all their advice with a grain of salt. But 3 resources I would point out would be, probably the most well-known resource is the Points Guy. Thepointsguy.com. There's like a whole team of people who contribute to that website. And if you Google just about any travel points question, there's probably an article on thepointsguy.com that answers that specific question. You should also, if you have like, I don't know, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card that I mentioned before, You should Google what you don't know, like Google to find out things that you didn't know. For example, you could just Google Chase Sapphire Preferred points strategies or something like that and see, what are some of the popular ways that people maximize the value of that card. So that's one, is the points guy. Two, I use Million Mile Secrets a lot. It's just a similar resource to the points guy, but a different perspective. Some of those websites are better at describing certain things than others are. And then a third resource would be Doctor of Credit. That website is really helps people make sure that their credit is not hurt by doing these strategies. And actually, I mentioned it before, like, hey, if you sign up for a card, that's a hit to your credit. Well, if you do this in the long term and you do it properly, your credit score can actually go up by quite a bit. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years or so, maybe a little longer than that. And my credit score has gone up by about 50 points because of doing this properly. And I won't really get into any more details there, but you can actually help your credit score quite a bit by implementing different points strategies. So,
can you say that one more time, Dan? Did you say Million Miles Secrets?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. You mentioned a couple of credit cards, I know, but one question is, there are a lot of different travel rewards credit cards. What's the one I should get first? You mentioned Chase. Is that what you would actually recommend?
It completely depends on what you are trying to do. I'd go back to what I said earlier about travel goals. Some cards that have awesome sign-up bonuses that I think would be good for most people might not meet your travel goals at all. So it really depends. The Capital One is a super flexible travel card. Chase has a handful of flexible travel cards. If sometimes people like signing up for cards that are for hotels or airlines that they really like. So for example, if someone's like super loyal to United, well, United has like 3 credit cards for personal, plus I think more for business that you could sign up for. There's branded cards for tons of airlines, tons of hotel chains. I will say that when it comes to loyalty programs for hotels, Hyatt has a really valuable loyalty program. A lot of points enthusiasts love their program because their points are so valuable. Hilton's points are super invaluable, so you need like way more Hilton points than you need Hyatt points to get a comparable room. But you also earn Hilton points faster, so some of that is offset. But my point is, pun intended, that maybe like if you love Hyatts and they have a really awesome loyalty program on top of it, then maybe you look for the Hyatt card. But it really depends on someone's travel goals.
Okay, great. You talked about downgrading a card after receiving the points. What about canceling a card after receiving the points?
Yeah, that's another really good question. And I'm glad someone asked it because I just don't have time to explain everything here. You should definitely consider downgrading instead of canceling, because if you're constantly signing up for cards and then canceling cards, that's going to hurt what's called your age of credit, and that will negatively impact your credit score. So trying to downgrade to a free card will keep that line of credit open with the credit bureaus. It just changes the product type that's on top of that line of credit, so that doesn't negatively impact your credit score. Further, let's say you had 25,000 of credit with a card, and you canceled the card, and then you tried to sign up for a new card and you got denied for some reason. Well, there's, sometimes you can argue with them on getting approved versus denied, and they'll change their decision. But if you would have downgraded that card to a free card instead, and you still had that card open, and then you sign up for a new card with that same company. So in my example, you had a Chase Sapphire Preferred, and you downgrade to a Chase Freedom Unlimited. and then you go back and you try to sign up for another Chase card. Well, let's say they deny you. Well, you can call them up and say, hey, I have this existing Chase card already. I want this other one. Can you just move like $10,000 from that existing card over to this new card and open up that new card with $10,000? So really, I don't have any more credit with you. You didn't extend me any more credit. You didn't increase your risk to me as a borrower. And they'll usually do that. So that's another bonus of keeping cards open.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I have one more question that's not related to travel. The question is, if I already filed my taxes, can I still make a 2020 IRA contribution?
Yeah, you have until May to make an IRA contribution, until the extended tax filing deadline. A Roth IRA contribution, you know, you have to be under an income limit to do that. But if you are, and if you qualify to do that, you can still make the contribution for 2020. That doesn't even affect your taxes, so it really doesn't matter. If you were to make a 2020 traditional IRA contribution, and you were able to deduct that, then you would have to amend your return. So got to weigh the benefits of whether you want to pay the fee to amend your return or not. But yeah, it's still possible.
All right, sounds great. That's all on my end. Do you have anything else, Dan?
Yeah, I could talk for another like half hour about credit card points, but I think like a lot of people get kind of nervous when I start saying like, yeah, sign up for a card and then downgrade, and then sign up for another card and then downgrade. If you feel like that, just don't do it. But if you're up for the challenge, that's the way to like earn a ton of points. That's what the people who are experts at this do. And so if you're a Flagstone client and you have questions about how to do that, more questions about how to do that, reach out, let me know. I'd be happy to talk through that with you. I can't research every single card under the sun and give you a specific, 100% confidence, this is what card you should get. But I can kind of teach you to fish and allow you to do it on your own in the future with a few basic tools. We can also post a couple of articles that I've written in our blog. We can put those in the recording in the description of the video. So you can watch for that when we send out the recording.
All right.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be in touch about next month's office hours, and we'll hope to have you join us for that as well. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks.